Right. I'd like to start this talk with a question that I want to ask you guys. How many of you today are sitting and placed in life and career in the place that you thought you will be a decade back, or maybe even before, when you studied? A lot of students here. How many of you thought that you would actually end up at IIM at this point in time? You know, most of us probably keep perceiving things, but they don't necessarily happen that way. And exactly why. I'll tell you what I wanted, where I wanted to be around 17 years back. I knew where I wanted to be. And I wanted to be in the Indian team. I was dreaming to be batting with Tendulkar and Dravid. I had a dream to win a game for India, batting in the middle with Tendulkar and Dravid, raising my bat, scoring 100 against Pakistan. And that gave me goosebumps every night. That kept me going. I kept and held it too tight. I was extremely, extremely passionate. I slept with my bat. I would have had sleepless nights. I played 8-9 years of good Ranji Trophy cricket. I played cricket since the age of 14. All I dreamt at a point in time when, this was around 2002, when I was slated to be playing for the country. And, you know, that's all I dreamt for. This didn't happen. But therefore, you know, I'm gonna run through a story of mine where I have now realized at 41 that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because success is an absolutely, according to me, an overrated, hyped syndrome, while failure is just a self-perceived state of mind. You know, we do create a lot of baggage for ourselves while we keep striving for success and eventually lose the potential that the process has to give it to us, because everything that we are merely our processes. Our characters are built during the process. We go through the grind. What we learn to do, what we learn not to do is during the process, and merely just achieving the goal is an overrated absolute thing. When this came, funnily, my mom was furious, and my father's a lawyer. My mom said, "They go and sue Times of India. They're calling my son insane. You know, they think he deserves a break. He's insane." And that was not the case. I mean, actually, it meant that I would have made to the Indian team. I'll go back in time. When I grew up as a kid. You know, I grew up as a kid as a very, very intimidatable, very introvert child. And then I was put in the cricket field by my mother. I grew up. I went on to play under 16 for the Gujarat state, under 19 for the Gujarat state. And the life carried on. And I didn't realize that I got my identity. I got my recognition. And it was a wonderful time that I was now feeling my words. Going on, I went on to be a Ranji Trophy player at the age of 19, 20, where most of the people dreamt of. You know, even I dreamt of. My entire life when I was 14, 15, 16, 19 was surrounding that I wanted to be part of the Gujarat Ranji Trophy team. And that came to happening at around 19 years of age, 20 years of age. And then I was selected to play for the Gujarat Ranji Trophy team. I remember this is the time when I just made my debut, and what you see in the slips is Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kambli. And I'm quoting this because after the game, we lost the game. It was my debut at Wankhede Stadium, this was. And after the game, we had the privilege of talking to Sachin Tendulkar, the great Sachin Tendulkar then, who was arguably the best cricketer in the world. In the mid-90s and late 90s, he was the best possible cricketer in the world, best batsman in the world. And we had the privilege in the Wankhede Stadium to have gone and speak with him. And one thing I asked him, "Sir, what do you think of how I played?" And he said that, just focus on the basics, just keep your fundamentals right, enjoy the process, and everything else will happen in the due course of time. And those wonderful words just stayed with me. Life went on. I decided to go to play English county cricket, and I was extremely successful. I was transiting from the local. One thing that Tendulkar also said to me, that try and do as many things, try and play at as many places as you can, because this is the process that's going to make you ready to play for the international cricket. Because tomorrow you'll be playing all around the world, maybe in England, Australia, South Africa, if you are selected to. So try and play in different countries. And I decided to play in the Sussex County League. And I was lucky enough to be picked to play. And that's the English coach then, Chris Morse. And life went on. I kept playing Ranji Trophy. A time came where I scored a beautiful 100. And that's Saurav Ganguly in the slips when he was the captain of the Indian team. And when I scored my 100 at the Eden Garden in the quarterfinals of the Ranji Trophy, He came to me and pat my back and said that, son, let this be the first of many to come. And I see a wonderful future in you, and you're all set. Just keep scoring runs, and I look forward to having you in the Indian team. Those are the words I got to hear from him on the cricket field at the Eden Gardens, and I was kind of absolutely flabbergasted and ready to believe that I'm now going to play for the country that I dreamt of every time. I'll bring this clue back because this is when it actually came in the newspaper, and this is where I thought, I was all set. But guess what? The batting lineup then was extremely powerful. You had someone like a Sehwag, Gambhir, Dravid, Tendulkar, Lakshman, Ganguly, Zahir, Harbhajan, Kumble. Even a pan vendor on the corner would write the Indian team down. It was that bloody powerful Indian team. And they all played for a decade non-stop. They were amazing cricketers. They were the ones who brought the transition in the Indian cricket team. And my time passed by. And, when you want to be a professional cricketer, want to play for the country, there's always a particular age by when you can actually make it. And I think my time passed out a little bit. And then it seemed that it was just slipping off with the youngsters coming in. I was still playing extremely well. I had finished my law studies. I come from a law background family. My father's a lawyer. And I'd done my law simultaneously. And I was still scoring runs. Even after that, this was another Times of India saying that this lawyer presents a strong case. They were just trying to say that I'm still in contention, I can do well. And then something different happened. I was sitting in my dad's law firm at that point in time, and I happened to meet a couple of very, very senior lawyers from Bombay with a firm of 200 lawyers. And my dad was in a negotiation meeting, and I happened to be there. And then after the meeting, as a gesture, as a lawyer's son, and I was also a lawyer by then, although not practicing, I was invited to do a couple of months internship in Bombay. And I decided to move on to Mumbai with that. And at that point in time, I didn't know what I was going into, but I just took a 2 month off and decided to move to Bombay with my wife. And both of us went there. And what happened next was completely unbelievable. I just felt that my time was running out to play for the country, but I enjoyed all the processes. I would have scored a half century in my last game in the Ranji Trophy, and I was still on the top. And while I went to Bombay, I just decided that I didn't want to come back to Gujarat, and I didn't want to play cricket anymore. And I stayed back in Mumbai for 3 years. I decided to do my solicitor's articleship for 3 years. And my next dream now, after all the effort that I took, was to now really practice as a good lawyer. At 30, after having played such good cricket, almost semi-celebrity in my own way, I still was taking photocopies for 20-year-olds. I was still researching on case laws for 20-year-old lawyers, boys and girls from different law schools, since I was interning and trying to get my foot into the law. Life went on, and 3 years passed by. I finished my articleship for 3 years of solicitors, and I then came back to Ahmedabad, and now I had to give my solicitor's exam. And the results of solicitors are usually 0.5%. Only 0.5% to 1% of students pass the solicitor exams. I cleared half of them, and while we were expecting a baby, unfortunately, again, something happened where, my wife, due to some obscene reasons, we had a couple of miscarriages, and it completely took away my focus of the study at that point in time, because that didn't seem to be a priority. And now my, again, dream of becoming a solicitor, really got into bonkers. I did not then, or could not then, focus into studies at that point in time with a lot of things going on otherwise, and therefore I put it to rest. I was still a lawyer, although I wanted to be a solicitor, but I just put it to rest. And life just went on. We moved on, and I got into my legal practice. My firm really did extremely well. And I came to know, that I then was detected with an autoimmune. I played cricket all my life. I would have climbed 10 stories of building any point in time. And now I was stuck to get off my bed for a while. And I didn't realize what bloody hell happened, because it was something in my DNA which caught up when I was around 34, 35. And that got detected, and I had to live with it. I had to undergo a couple of surgeries. I was on steroids, and it was difficult for me to move from one place to another for a period of time. And life moved on, and all these things that, passed by, growing up as a kid, wanting to get into cricket, then wanting to become a solicitor, then really getting into this sort of autoimmune disease. And all I reflect back today, now I had to meditate a lot, I had to do a lot of yoga, I got my lifestyle back, I worked out, and I'm absolutely fit and fine now. But what I
things at the top is, as I said earlier, that merely because I did not play for the country, merely because I did not become a solicitor, merely because a lot of things didn't happen the way I thought I perceived, it did not have any actual impact or effect on my life, because what really made me was the process that I went through in doing things. So when they say,
when you score 100, the moment of glory is 30 seconds. When you raise your bat, Rahul Dravid or Tendulkar, when they raises their bat for 30 seconds and look around the ground and say, they take the greets from the team and the crowd, that 30 seconds glory is not what really one looks for. What really makes Tendulkar and Dravid is how they batted those 6 hours to score that 100. Because during those 6 hours, they would have batted absolutely in the contradiction of their game. Because when you lose wickets on the other side, you have to not play your shots. You have to make sure that you play for the team and play against your natural game. And that is exactly what makes a person great. If you see a lot of film stars, Shah Rukh Khan or Amitabh Bachchan, if you see them today, what you see them today is absolutely looking a success from the outside. But if you ask them in person, I think they'll say they've probably failed more than they've actually succeeded. Or probably things didn't go the way they actually perceived in their life. But they've molded themselves, they've adapted themselves into transition. And that is exactly what makes us all. So my udaan for this is, giving undue importance to success and overlooking the process of enjoyment during the course of process is absolutely insane. As earlier said, that we are absolutely evolved species, unlike a plant, insect, or an animal who cannot communicate, express, or evolve. As humans, we must be extremely grateful of where we stand today. You guys are going to go out in the real world tomorrow, and you guys are going to try and work out with a lot of things that you have aspired for today. But the one thing that you should keep in mind, guys, is you cannot ever compromise with the present joy, experience, and happiness that you have in everything that you do. Eventually, we try and relate success with happiness, which is absolutely, according to me, irrelevant and insignificant. At whatever time you realize that, you will in the point in time, but success will have no significant relevance with your happiness. As rightly said in Mahabharata, the very, very instance of Karan and Arjun, what it said is, Uttam bano shresh nahi. The difference between Karan and Arjun essentially was that Arjun was blessed with the legacy and someone like a Dronacharya, while a Karan, equally or probably more, arguably more capable, was always dejected because he always felt left out, and all his capabilities in life only went in beating and battering Arjun. He only wanted to be better than Arjun, and when we strive to become best, that is where we have the problem. When you strive to become the best, you always are competing. You're always trying to be better than somebody else. And when you don't achieve that, it brings a lot of dejection. While if you strive excellence, you're only, and that's what success means. What does success in effect means is the best version of you that you can put across. The best that you can give of yourself is your success. You can't allow anyone else determine your success or anyone else have the certificate of whether you are successful or not. And that's exactly was the difference between Karan and Arjun was always focusing on bettering himself. So all that we are experiencing here as a human, we all ought to be extremely grateful of, first of all, what we have, instead of trying to constantly strive of something that we don't. And for you guys, when you go out tomorrow, I'm sure that it's going to have a lot of things coming up your way. But one thing that you cannot ever compromise is to have a lot of joy, a lot of peace, a lot of happiness in perpetuity in each and everything that you do. That is the highest level of perspective that a human can have. We only have 20, 30, 40 good years left with us, and we cannot just waste it trying to really impress someone, trying to really tag ourselves with certain incidents in our life that is going to derive whether are we successful or not. All you keep enjoying your process, all you try and give your best in what you're doing, give your best, not competing with anybody else. And I'm sure that the best of you will come out and you will experience this life in the most beautiful way. Because I almost played for the country. That's what I lived for. All my life, I dreamt about it. But when I look back today in the hindsight, it really sounds nothing. And that, therefore, hindsight is a very beautiful thing. Where if you today think of you IIM students, if you think today where, when you were in grade 10, we all shitted in our pants saying that what the hell, how are we going to do the exams? But today, if you think of grade 10, it has no relevance or significance. You will laugh at it, that how funny it was for you to really be stressful at that point in time. Yeah, and life at every stage is like that. Today, if you're thinking the way you're thinking, 10 years down the line, it will absolutely have no significance or relevance of how and what you're going through today. What is going to keep you going is your attitude, because skill and abilities are only going to have a very limited role to play. Only the way you look at things are going to matter. And when I look at things now, unlike a few years back, a few decades back, we didn't have GPS. If you're driving on from Haji Ali to Nariman Point, you don't know how long it's going to take. But today with the GPS, with the aerial view, you see that it's showing 33 minutes. And that's exactly how we can see our lives. We can see beyond small things like successes and achievements and goals, although we keep one to have purposes in life. But when we see from the larger perspective of the aerial view of what life has to offer to us, just more than mere success, you will see that it has much more than just tagging yourself with certain successes or determinations of achieving goals. And therefore, I'd like to say that go out, completely express yourself the way you are, try to be one person, and enjoy this brilliant presence of humanity that we have, and make most of it, and be grateful always for whatever you have, and do not desire for something that is absolutely uncalled for. Thank you so much, and that's my round for you. Thank you so much.